بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما
اللهم صل محمد وآل محمد
لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to continue our study of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam in the Qur'an. So tonight, inshallah, we want to continue with the migration of Ismail and his mother to Mecca. So, as you know, for a long time, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam had no child. In Surah Safat, verse 100, we find dua of Ibrahim alayhi salam for having a righteous child. If we can go to Surah Safat, 100, verse 100. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted this dua and granted him through the lady Hajar, Ismail alayhi salam. So the ayah is Rabbi habli minas salihin. He didn't want any child. He wanted a child who would be righteous. فَبَشَّرْنَاهُ بِغُلَامٍ حَلِيمٍ. We gave him the good news and bashara of having a son who would be halim, forbearing, patient. And one manifestation of the patience is coming afterwards, the story that inshallah we will mention about slaughtering. So when he had no child for a long time, as you know, he married Lady Hajar, and this was through the recommendation of his wife Sarah. But then there was a kind of maybe envy, and then Ibrahim alayhi salam was asked by Allah to take Sarah and Ismail to Mecca, to a remote place. So if we go to Surah Ibrahim, verses 37 to 41, we find that when Ibrahim took them there, that place was very far. So from Palestine, which was very, green and fertile land, had to take them to like a kind of desert and mountain with no water, no trees. Even there were no other people. So because Allah had asked him, he took them there and left them there. So the ayah says that Ibrahim alayhi salam said to Allah, Rabbana inni askantu min dhurriyati biwadin ghayri dhi zar'ih an inda baytika al-muharram. So Kaaba was already located there, but at the time of migration it was destroyed, and later Ibrahim and Ismail alayhim as-salam rebuilt Kaaba. وَإِذْ يَرْفَعُ إِبْرَاهِيمُ الْقَوَاعِدَ مِنَ الْبَيْتِ وَإِسْمَاعِيل. It shows that the foundations were there, but the walls and the ceiling had collapsed or been destroyed. So he rebuilt with Ismail. So he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to do few things. One was فَجْعَلْ أَفْئِدَةً مِّنَ النَّاسِ تَهْوِي إِلَيْهِمْ. Please make hearts of some people inclined towards them, leaning towards them, so that they would have love for them and maybe they go also settle there. وَارْزُقْهُمْ مِنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ, and give them from the fruits. Either literally he meant fruits, or fruits in the sense of results of good things. It can be fruits like dates and apple and other things. It can be also corpse. It can be also fruits of business, fruits of trade, etc. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَشْكُرُونَ, hoping that they would also be grateful. So you give them, and we hope that they also would be grateful. So, according to what inshallah we will explain, that place after emergence of a Zamzam spring attracted birds, then trees, then people went there, and Jurham tribe, they asked for permission from Lady Hajar to settle there. So it became a populated place. It is said in some history books that when Ibrahim alayhi salam was leaving Hajar and Ismail there to go back to Palestine, Lady Hajar called him and said, with whose permission or with whose command you are leaving us here in this place that has no plants, nothing, no animal to give milk, there is no even drop of water, without anyone to give us acquaintance, without any provision. Who commanded you? Ibrahim briefly said, my Lord has commanded me. And when Lady Hajar heard this, said, so he is not going to leave us alone. If Allah has told you this, that's fine. He will take care of us. Look at her iman and trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, we read with some more details that can be found in some hadith and history books. We find that after Ibrahim alayhi salam left them, and this was another test, a child that you have been waiting for a long time, and your wife, you leave them in this place next to the house of God, but without any water, without any people, So it was a test, and he passed the test, the family passed the test. So what happened was, when they ran out of water, Lady Hajar started looking around for water. So she went to Safa Mount, there was no water. Then on Marwa side, saw a kind of, maybe, something appeared like to be, water. Went there, but there was no water. Had to go back again to Safa. So she did this 7 times, and Ismail alayhi salam was crying, and then water came from beneath his feet, and then Zamzam water, became available, and they benefited from that and also were saved, and also other people came. In Hijr Ismail, next to Kaaba, we have the burial place of Lady Hajar and Prophet Ismail. Another test for both Ibrahim and Ismail was, and in a sense for the mother Hajar, was Allah's command to Ibrahim alayhi salam to slaughter Ismail. Of course, there is a discussion. Shia believe that it was Ismail. Sunni Mufassirin, many of them believe it was Ishaq, but we believe it was Ismail. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, as a prophet, had never false dreams, and shaitan could never affect his understanding. So in one dream, one night, he saw is slaughtering Ismail, and the dream repeated 2 more nights, and this showed that this is very certain and should be done quickly. It is said that the first dream was in the night of Tarwiyah, 8th of Dhul Hijjah. The second was in the night of Arafah, 9th of Dhul Hijjah, and the third was the night of Eid Qurban, 10th of Dhul Hijjah. So he very honestly and truthfully shared his dream with Ismail. If we can go to Surah Safat, verse 102. The same place that we reached. فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ مَعَهُ السَّعْيَ قَالَ يَا بُنَيَّ إِنِّي أَرَى فِي الْمَنَامِ أَنِّي أَذْبَحُكَ. When Ismail was old enough to help him to do some work, it is said that Ismail was 13 years old. He said, my dear son, my ya bunayya, I saw in dream that I am slaughtering you. What do you think? فَانْظُرْ مَاذَا تَرَى. He didn't deceive Ismail. He didn't even hide from Ismail, because he wanted also Ismail to make a choice. And hopefully he would also be able to benefit from this test by showing submission to God and being pleased with God's decision. Because in some other scriptures, we find that he didn't say to his son what he wants to do. But in the Qur'an says yes, it's so told. And Ismail was, mashallah, so understanding, so pious. He realized that dream of his father is true and shows instruction from God. So he said, Ya abate, with love, my dear father or my father, If'al ma tu'mar. This is command. He didn't say, maybe this dream was false, or maybe this was just a recommendation, not a command. No, he said, this is command. If'al. He even encouraged. He didn't say there is no problem. He said, do it. If'al ma tu'mar. And then he didn't say, I am patient. He said, Satajiduni insha'Allah minas sabirin. Inshallah, you will find me among the people who are patient. Unfortunately, in some cultures, sometimes when you ask someone if he doesn't want to do something and he doesn't want to say no, he says, Inshallah, meaning we don't know, let's see. But mu'mineen should say, Inshallah, when they want to do something, but they are not depending on themselves, they say, Inshallah. وَلَا تَقُولَنَّ لِشَيْءٍ إِنِّي فَاعِلٌ ذَلِكَ غَدًا إِلَّا أَنْ يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. Never say, I will do this certainly tomorrow, unless you say, it depends on Allah's mashiyah. So he said, سَتَجِدُنِي إِنْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ مِنَ الصَّابِرِينَ. And therefore, they both took part in this trial, in this test. Also, it is said that Satan wanted to stop Ibrahim, and he tried everything possible. He went to Lady Hajar and said, do you know what Ibrahim wants to do? He wants to slaughter Ismail. As a mother, this is very worrying. Hajar said, this is impossible. Ibrahim is more kind and merciful than killing his child. Who can kill his own child? Shaitan said, Ibrahim claims that he is commanded by God. Then Hajar said, if he's commanded by God, then that's fine. So she was so submissive. Went to Ismail, tried to deceive Ismail, didn't succeed. Then went to Ibrahim himself and said, this is Shaitan, but appeared to Ibrahim and said, your dream was satanic. Don't act upon it. And Ibrahim, with the insight that he had, he knew that this is Iblis, and said, go away. In one hadith it says that Ibrahim first wanted to slaughter Ismail in Mash'ar al-Haram, and Satan went after him. Then Ismail went to Jamariya Ula. Satan went there, so Ibrahim threw 7 stones at him. Then went to Jamariya Saniya, the second one. Again Iblis came, threw 7 stones. Then Jamariya Aqaba, again Iblis appeared and threw 7 stones. Then Iblis left him, was despaired. It is also said that Ismail alayhi salam told Ibrahim alayhi salam that, Father, please fasten my hands and feet with some ropes very tightly, so that I don't move my hand and legs and affect you, and also lose my own some of my reward. Fasten me so tight that I would not move, because moving is sometimes happening naturally. It's not in your control. Also said, please make the knife so sharp that for me would be easier and for you also would be faster. Also said, before doing this, please remove my shirt so that it would not be covered with my blood, and then give my shirt to my mother so that whenever she misses me, she can smell me through this shirt. So he was so considerate about every aspect, every detail, father, himself, mother. And also they say that father and the son hugged each other, kissed each other, were crying. But then in Surah Safat, verse 103, it says that when they were both submissive and ready, and Ibrahim put the forehead of Ismail on the soil, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave another instruction. فَلَمَّا أَسْلَمَا وَتَلَّهُ لِلْجَبِينِ. Some say this تَلَّهُ لِلْجَبِينِ is because Ismail himself had said, please put my forehead on the soil so that your eyes would not see my eyes and would affect you. You become, very sad. And maybe it would stop you. So if you go to Surah Safat, verse 103, 104, 5, 6. But what happened was the knife, which was sharp, was not cutting. فَلَمَّا أَسْلَمَا وَتَلَّهُ لِلْجَبِينِ. It didn't cut. Ibrahim tried, it didn't cut. وَنَادَيْنَاهُ أَنْ يَا إِبْرَاهِيمُ قَدْ صَدَّقْتَ الرُّؤْيَا. You don't need to worry. You don't need to carry on with, trying again and again. No. You have acted according to your dream. You have fulfilled it. إِنَّا كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. We give reward in this way to the benefactors, to the people who do right things. So Allah gave him reward even if he didn't do it, because he tried. He had intention and he did what he could. He couldn't do anything more. This was a very big test, very obvious. إِنَّ هَذَا لَهُوَ الْبَلَاءُ الْمُبِينُ. But then Allah didn't say, okay, that's finished. وَفَدَيْنَاهُ بِذِبْحٍ عَظِيمٍ. Then we ransomed Ismail with a great sacrifice. It is said that Jibreel brought a big sheep, or it came from the mount. And perhaps this Azim also is not referring just to that sacrifice being big. It is something that continued every year till now. How many qurbani are done, undertaken by people? Now maybe a few millions every Eid Qurban, just in Mecca. All over the world, maybe tens of millions or hundreds of millions, qurbani. So it was a big sacrifice. Instead of slaughtering Ismail, millions of qurbani are taking place. When this happened, it is said that Jibreel said, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ibrahim said, La ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. Sorry, Ismail said, La ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. Ibrahim said, Allahu Akbar walillahil hamd. So, Jibreel, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ismail, La ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. Ibrahim alayhi salam, Allahu Akbar walillahil hamd. So this is the beginning of takbirat that we have on the day of Eid. That we say, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Wallahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, walillahil hamd. And then we also say, Allahu Akbar wa ala ma hadana, wa lahu shukru ala ma awlana, etc. So these takbirat reminds us of that great victory of Ibrahim and Ismail. If you go to then verse 109 we find that Allah says Salamun ala Ibrahim. Allah sends salam to Ibrahim. Again he says كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ إِنَّهُ مِنْ عِبَادِنَا الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَبَشَّرْنَاهُ بِإِسْحَاقَ نَبِيًّا مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. It is said that maybe there was 10 years difference between giving him Ismail and giving him Ishaq. And you see, now it's talking about Ishaq. So it seems the previous one, Bunay, must be Ismail, because the mention of his Ishaq's birth is later. This is supporting the idea that Zabih was Ismail. The ayah وَتَرَكْنَا عَلَيْهِ فِي الْآخِرِينَ also is about Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, which means that we kept good name, good mention of Ibrahim in coming future, nations and generations. Inshallah, we will talk about birth of Ishaq alayhi salam in the next session. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم